Hi friends, welcome to WebJam. In this video, I am going to discuss what is DAX in Power BI. I will introduce the complete DAX, why we need the DAX, what we can do with the help of DAX, and how DAX work in Power BI. Okay, so let's see what is DAX first, and then we will see how we can use the DAX in Power BI also. So DAX is a collection of functions, meaning in Power BI, they have already created the functions that you can directly use for the data manipulation. Okay, even not only the functions, there are operators and constants that can be used in the formula, DAX formula, like we have formulas in Excel. Similarly, we have formulas in Power BI. So that formula is nothing but data analysis expression, and that is in short referred to the DAX. Okay. And what is the use to calculate and return the one or more values? Okay, so DAX can be used to return the values. Okay, it is fine. But in another way, if I say, so DAX is a programming language that is used in Power BI for creating the calculated columns, calculated measures, and calculated tables in Power BI. Okay. So it is, as I said, it is a functional language. You don't need to create your own functions and all. The functions are already created. You have to use that function just to solve your business problems. And it has lots of features, lots of functions that supports you in various aspects to perform the calculations. Okay, so like programming language, it has operators also. Even you can create the variables and conditional statements you can use. Okay, so these are the kinds of things are there. Okay, so it can be used to solve the several calculation and data analysis problems. Okay, which can help you to create the new information from the data that is already in your model. Fine. So as I said, DAX formulas are used in measure, calculated column, calculated table, and row level security. Okay, let's understand what does this mean by, what is mean by measure, what is mean by calculated column, what is mean by calculated table, and what is row level security. Okay, so measures in Power BI is a calculation that uses DAX expressions. Okay, simply measures, meaning you are going to perform the calculations. But how? By using the DAX expressions. And yes, these expressions allows you to aggregate the values from table. Meaning whenever you have to produce the scalar value meaning value without any direction, like we can say only single value. Okay, the number, if you want to return the single value. So in that case, measures, we go and we create the measures. But yes, if you want to produce the value, single value, how we can produce? So there are multiple rows in the table, right? So we can aggregate that. Even aggregation I discussed in my previous videos. So sum, mean, max, count, these are the kinds of functions we can mostly use to get the details from the tables. Okay, and to get the single number, we use measures. Okay, even we can use these measures in visualization area also to calculate the result based on the other fields also. Okay, so we will see that part as we progress. So it is sometime, okay, measure and calculated measure both are the same thing, nothing is different. And if you create the measures, okay, until you do not use the measure, that is not going to perform any kind of calculation, it will remains ideal. Okay, until and unless you use that measure in another measure or in the visuals, then and then only it is going to perform the calculation. So let's remember this point, because this is what the point we are going to compare with the calculated columns. What is difference between the calculated measure and calculated column? So you will get to know. Okay, let's see how to create the measures in Power BI. So if you go to the Power BI, there are few tables you might have created. Yes, or you might have loaded into Power BI. So here you can create the measures. Okay, if you if you are at a visual or report level, so you here you can see that there is something called new measure. There is something called new measure. You can create the measure from here also. If you go to the data view, so there is again something called new measure. So you can use this part also, meaning everything is same. I'm just exploring the options from where you can create the measure. So these are the two options, not only the two, there is one more option. If you click on any of the table and if you right click on it, there is again option. But yes, all these options are going to help us with the same thing. That is what creating a measure, right? Creating a measure. So what we can do, we can simply select the table and then go and click on the new measure. So it will create the measure on that table, in that table, okay, not on that table. So if I select this measure table and if I say new measure, okay, so what it will do, it will create the measure for me, right? And by default, it gives the measure name, but you can change this name. If I say I want a total sales, okay, so obviously I'm going to perform the aggregation operation. Total sale meaning I am going to take the sum of that column, right, from whatever the table is there. So what function we need to use? We need to use the sum function. So far I have not discussed the functions, but yes, this is again same in Excel. If you are familiar with the Excel, so you can understand what is this, I mean how these functions are works. And here it is asking, okay, if you look at the arguments, okay, whenever you open, just type the function name and hit the tab button. The moment, or just select the function and hit the enter button. Okay, I will redo the activity. Sum, and you can hit the tab button. Okay, this will open the function. Okay, and here it is asking you to select the column name. Okay, if you look at the syntax, you can see that it is asking for the column name. So if you pass the column name, it will automatically take the sum of entire column, right? So what I will do, I will say sales, and there is something called, I don't think so, sales amount is there. Yes, sales amount column is there. Fine. If I take this sum, okay, so total sales name measure is already there on this table. So I won't be able to create the table with this. So I will remove yes, and I will keep the total sale only. Even it's not like that. Okay, you may want to uh, use two separate words for the measure name. You can use that, is not a restrictions here. Okay, and the measure got created. Okay, there is some issue with these earlier created measures, so that's why it shows if anything goes wrong or anything is not available. Okay, so in that case what it does, so it does simply it says, okay, it shows the warning icon like this, and even you can see the message what happens and what went wrong, but that is fine. Okay, that is not our concern now. Now we have values, and if you go to the visualization and select the card, you can show this value, because this has created single value, right? So we can show that value on card like this in visual. Okay, but as I said, the last point, measure will ideal, meaning it will not perform any calculation until we use them. So that is what the beauty, and this help us to improve the performance of Power BI. If it is not necessary, why we will go and perform the calculation, right? So this is how it works. This is about the measures. Okay, there is one more point. Okay, suppose let's say you have created a measure in the this measure table, and you may want to shift this measure to a new table or different table, or and by error, okay, by mistake, if you have created any measure in the sales table, and you may want to relocate, meaning move this measure to another table. Yes, there is a way. Okay, go to the data view and just select the measure. The moment you select the major, okay, here you can see all the information on which table. What is the name of major? Okay, my bad. What is the name of major? And what is the home table? Okay, even what will be the type? Okay, it is for it is of what type? Okay, even decimal places and everything is you can show, and the data category is uncategorized. It is fine. Okay, that is not concern. We will discuss later on the what is mean by uncategorized. So you may want to move this measure. So what you need to do is you need to go to the home table and change the home table. If I select the cells, my measure will get moved to cells. Okay, here you can see that total cells is now sitting in the cells table. So like this, you can move the measures. You can manage the measures in which table you have to keep. But it is always good practice to keep the measures in separate table. All your measures. Okay, you may once you can create the multiple tables based on the your convenient way. But yes, it is always good practice to keep the measures on the separate table instead of creating the measures on the same table. Okay, so if I go to the here, even yes, if we click on the measures, okay, here in the report view also it shows home table, so you can change the home table. So that measure will get moved again back to the that table. Okay. So this is about the measure. This is where we have seen how to create the measure. Next point is what is calculated column. Okay, so whenever you load the data from any specific source, the data may not be fit to your model, meaning as you want, the data will not be there as we required. Okay, so we need to transform the data, we need to make the changes. Okay, we need to extract some information from the data. So in that case, what we can do, we can create the additional columns in the table. That columns, whatever the columns you will create, okay, meaning the columns which are not coming from the source and you have created the columns, that columns are referred to as an calculated columns in DAX. Okay, let's go and see how we can create the calculated. Okay, it is very similar to the measures. Okay, because both are based on the DAX formulas, but they are differ in how they are used. Obviously, I will show you. Okay. So let's go and let's say this is my calendar table and I may want to create the any specific column. Okay, I may want to extract the information quarter wise. So maybe I do have number of weeks. Okay, and calendar quarter. Okay, quarter is there. So this kind of data if I already have, but let's say you may want to extract the year from this. Okay, for any reason. So year and everything is already even there. So let me remove all these columns first. So that I can show you what is calculator column, what is the use of calculator column. So since I already created all those columns in Excel, so it has appearing here. Okay, I will select this date and I will simply go and simply say remove other columns. Okay, because I don't want those many columns to be loaded in my Power BI. In that case, we can open the query editor and we can remove the column. That's what kind of operations I already discussed in my previous videos. So you can go and refer the Power Query editor data transformations. Fine. So now we have only one column. Okay, and sometime what will happen, you may want to analyze the data quarter wise, year wise, okay, month wise. So in that case, what you need to do is you need to extract the data from this date column, right? Based on this date, you need to extract the year, you need to extract the month, you need to extract the day, even in the quarter also. So fine. So we are going to perform the same, but how to create the columns now? Okay, if you go and okay, so here in the home tab, you will not see anything because you will not be able to create. But if you go and select the table and if you right click, so there is something called new column. So this is the option to create the calculator column. This is the one way. Okay, from there also. If you go to the data view And here, in case of column tools, you will be able to create the new column. Even in case of table tools, you will be able to see there is option to create the new column. Okay, even in case of your data model view, so you are able to just select the table and you will be able to create the new column from here also, new table from here also. So I will come to that point. What is table and what is calculated table? Okay, so if I wanted to create the new column, that column will be a calculated column, and let's say select this just new column. It allows you to use the DAX expression to define what you want to do. So there are date related functions that already built in function. As I said, DAX is a functional language, meaning many functions are already defined here. Okay, we don't need to define anything by ourselves. We have to use just those functions, and you need to get the familiar with those functions to work, make these changes or to work with the DAX. So if I say QTR is equal to, okay, I'm just going to extract the quarter information. So what I will do, I will say I will extract the quarter. So there is a quarter now function. Okay. And if I use the date, but how to pass the date? Obviously, first you need to pass the table name, and inside a bracket, okay, square bracket, followed by square bracket, table name followed by square bracket, column name. If you pass, and it will be able to give the value based on your requirement. So if you open, so obviously in year we have four quarters, so it shows only 4 quarter information. Okay, so this is what the quarter wise. You may wants to perform the concatenation. You may like to add the q before this quarter number, so you can add and perform the concatenation so that it shows q2, q3, q4, q1, and like this. Okay, so the column which we have created, that column is referred as an calculated column. Okay, fine. So now let's see where we can use the columns. Okay, so if you try to create the visuals, okay, let's consider this is my visual table visual, and yes, calculated column you can use anywhere. Okay, so this is QTR. Okay, let's say instead of this, what I will do, I will select the matrix. So this shows me more options. Okay, and here we have rows, columns, values. Okay, so these 3 options are there. Even filter is not there because filter is here sitting, separate pane is there to apply the filters. So you can bring the calculator column to the rows, even for the columns, even for the values. Okay, as per the your wishes. So anywhere you can put the calculated column. So rows axis, legends, even group axis of visualization. So these are the ways to see. Okay, and measures, obviously if I bring the measures, okay, so you can see that it is not allowing me to bring the measures in the rows, columns, legends, right? It will not allow. It allows to select, but we can bring that in the values, but not in the columns, rows, legends. Why? Because there is no categorical value. Okay, and the rows, columns, and legends, when these fields are used, because whenever you have a data in the categorical form, meaning the column which has many values in the form of text, okay, we can say that just for the understanding purpose. So then we can use the meaning. Yes, so that is what the one again difference between the measures cannot be used. Okay, calculated measures cannot be used in row, column, and all. So this will be only used in the visuals or in the field of values, but in case of calculated columns, like other fields, like other columns which are bring from the sources, so like we can use the calculated columns. Fine. So this is about the all about the calculated column. And one more thing, that last point. Okay, whenever you refresh the data, okay, the column will get, I mean, this calculation will happen, and obviously this will take some time to perform the calculation. Whenever you refresh the report, so these calculations are going to refresh. This refresh or the calculation will perform only once on the refresh of complete report. On the refresh of the specific table, I can say. Table or complete report, anything is fine. So this will get refreshed. Okay. But the problem is what, as compared to measures, okay, measures, as I said, until and unless you use, it will not perform the calculation, meaning it will not increase the load on the Power BI. But in case of calculated column, so whether you are going to use that column or not necessary, but yes, if you refresh the data, while refreshing, it will increase the load on the Power BI. Why? Because the calculations must be happened and stored. Even it also increase the size of Power BI queue. Okay, it is creating the data, right, in the large amount of data. So we can differentiate the measures and calculated column in this way. Okay, next term is calculated table. Okay, Power BI allows you to connect with, obviously various sources it allows us to connect. But sometimes what you may need to do is, you may need to use this, the currently loaded table, the table which is already loaded into the model, you may want to use that table. So instead of going to the source, meaning the Power Query, and connecting to the source and loading the data again, so instead of that, what we can do, we can create the table, new table itself in the Power BI, the table from the table which is already loaded in the Power BI model. Okay, so calculated table is a computed objects, okay, based on either a DAX query or expression derived from all or part of tables in the same model. So if you want to select all the entire table as it is, you can select. If you want to select the partial tables, okay, few columns, you will be able to select that also. So this is how it is going to work. Okay, fine. So let's go and create. Again, if you click on the table, okay, any table, there is something called new measure, new column you can create. But yes, so let's say there is an option to copy table, but yes, it will not create the copy, okay, duplicate table. It will just copy the data. So you may want to create the table. So in that case, what you can do, you can go to the data view, and here is the option. In the table tool, there is something called new table. Again, you can use the DAX expressions to create the table. Okay, I may want to filter the data from, or I may want to create the table from the sales table, but for not all the rows. Okay, meaning, okay, so I will say filtered table, or filtered sales data. I will say sales data. Okay, for any reason I may want to use this data. Okay, I may need to create the another table of sales. Instead of going to the source back and loading the data, what I would prefer to create the table here itself. Again, Power BI has many functions to create the tables. I will use the filter functions. Okay, this function is going to return the table. So I will say sales. Okay, sales is the table I would like to return, but based on the filter. So filter expressions you can specify here. So what I will do, I will simply say, okay, filter, let's say country. Okay, since relationships are already built, okay, even sales column is equal, sales table has country column itself. So I can use that, and I will say United States. Okay, so in this way, I can create the table. This table is a replica of your sales table. Okay, there may be a country is equal to, okay, let's see what is there in a country. Okay, the column, it should be category, not a country. Okay, category. Not by mistake, I may have changed the formula later on. Okay, so category. So now what I will do, I will use the category there. Okay, so now if you go and see the filter data table, you will okay, sales category, the changes happens automatically, right? This is how DAX works. If you use the any column anywhere in your DAX entire Power BI model, and if you change the column name, the changes will happen at all the places. You don't need to go and change manually. Okay. Then United States. Okay, instead of United States, since this is a category, this is not a country, I will say bikes. And now you can see that it is giving me the data only for the bike category. Okay, if I go down and here you can see that, okay, so it is giving me the data only for the bike, right? For any reason, you may want to create the duplicate table. So this allows us to create the table here itself, meaning DAX allows us to create the table here itself rather than going to the source data or connect to the source and bring the data. So that kind of help DAX is going to give us. Okay. So let's say this is about the calculated column. So you can create the calculated column based on, okay, there are many functions. I used to filter, but there is calculate table and even all any like this many functions we can use to filter and so I will discuss everything in my subsequent videos. Fine. Then let's understand what is row level security. Obviously, DAX help us to achieve the row level security, meaning what it is going to do is, okay, based on the roles, user roles, you can create the roles, and based on the roles, okay, so whatever the roles you will assign to that specific person based on the email address or whatever will be the identification there in your organization, so it is able to restrict the data access for that given user. So the appropriate person can see the appropriate records only. Appropriate meaning the records which are required. Okay, let's say you have a data for multiple countries, and there are managers, country-wise managers are there. France manager, okay, meaning the sales manager from France, sales manager from Germany, sales manager from United States. Okay, so these are the managers. Okay, and unnecessarily why they should see the data, meaning the France person, why he should be able to see the data for US and Germany? Not required, right? So we can achieve that kind of security. That is what your role level security. I'm just summarizing, and I will describe everything about the role level security in my subsequent videos also. But just in short, I'm giving the introduction. What is role level security? So DAX help us to filter the data, okay, and to put the restrictions on the data access at the row level. Okay, and how to create this row level, I will discuss. Okay, if you go to the home tab, okay, not in the home tab. Okay, let me select this. Just select the, not here. There is, okay, in the home, not home, but there is an option to manage roles. Okay, in the home also, or even if you go to the report view. Okay, in case of report view, or in case of, okay, so in case of data view and in case of model view, we can see that manage role option. So here, this option is allow us to create the row level security. So this allows to create the roles. If you go and if you say create, okay, so I will say US. I will say US. And if I go to the territory, and from this territory, if I add the filter on territory, country is equal to United States. Okay, so United States. So this is column value. Okay, this value must be there in the country. Based on the relationship, what it will do, it will go and filter the data from sales table. See, we already seen how to create the relationships and everything. Okay. And let's say I will close this. If I come here, if I create the bar chart. Okay, let's say clustered bar chart. Okay, wise country, and let me bring the majors. That is what. Okay, so this is what actually I have created. Country is equal to, why it is blank. There are many values in the country. Yes, country has these many values. Okay, fine. So not sure any filter. Okay, if I go to the country, I can see these many values. Okay, fine. And let me bring the product to the product category to the legend. Okay, so this is how we can create, but data is not reflecting country wise. Fine. So what I will do, I will bring the country to this. Here I will bring the category, and here on the legend I will bring the country. But still country is not working. Fine. Let's remove the country. Okay, I will use the another column. Let's not spend much time on this. I will use occupation in the okay. So this is how we have the columns. Okay, for the various categories. And obviously we need country because even it's not like that. Okay, you can create the roles or based on the country and all, but yes, any categorical column we can use to create the roles and filter the data. So if you see, okay, these are the categories for the bike, and then bikes, all the categories for the bikes. Okay, so what I will do, I will go and again I will change the manage roles. So I will just change the filter. Okay, not going to do anything with respect to that. If I go and if I say manage role, so why? Because country filter was not there. Okay, clear table filter. And if I go to the customer, okay, I will say occupation filter. It is fine. Okay, occupation, and occupation is equal to, let's say, pro professional. Okay, professional. Let me use this. Okay, even if I go to the, let's check. Okay, if is there any mistake with respect to spelling and all, it is not going to work. Okay, so let's see what and all as as there. Okay, professional is there, manual is there, skilled manual is there. Okay, fine. So I'm just showing you it is able to filter the data. Okay, and if I now go and try to test that, even if I go to the home, if I say view as, and I will say, okay, US. In case of US, I applied the filter only for the uh, one specific category. You can see that it is showing the data for only professionals, right? It is able to filter the data. Okay. I was trying to get the data by country, but it is fine. Okay. Any categorical column you can use to filter the data based on the requirement. So you can manage these roles. You can use the country, you can use the regions. Okay. Even there is something called a dynamic row level security that I will discuss later on. So I was just here to show you what is row level security. And with respect to DAX, we have these many types of important functions. Okay, you need to learn aggregation function, data and time function, filter function, information function, logical function, relationship functions. Okay, then table manipulation function, text function, time intelligence, information. Okay, information once again arrived here. It is fine, and some other functions are there. So we can, or we need to go through this. Okay, it is not necessary to know all the functions, but yes, it is required to have at least few important functions knowledge. Okay, and this is where I would like to stop. Okay, I hope you like the content of this video. Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a nice day.